You woke up this morning inside a system. You didn't choose it, didn't build it, didn't question it. A bed, a roof, a calendar on your phone telling you where to be and when. You move through it the way water moves through pipes, shaped entirely by the container. That feels like life. That feels like what it means to be human. But that's not quite right. For most of the time our species has existed, there was no container, no city, no calendar, no crop. And the humans who lived in that world, your ancestors, were not waiting for civilization to arrive. They were already fully formed. They were already us. We tend to think of pre-civilizational humans as a rough draft, as if everything before farming in cities was just a long, uncomfortable prologue to the real story. Survival, darkness, waiting. But here's what's fascinating. The evidence suggests it wasn't a prologue at all. It was a different kind of life, with its own structure, its own richness, and in some ways, a relationship with the world that we have spent 10,000 years slowly forgetting. In 1966, anthropologist Marshall Solins at the University of Chicago presented what became one of the most debated ideas in his field. He called hunter-gatherer societies the original affluent societies, not because they had more things, because they needed fewer. Solins examined documented forager groups and found that most spent somewhere between 3 and 5 hours a day acquiring food. The rest was rest, social time, story, sleep. Which means your ancestors living tens of thousands of years before the first city may have worked less than you do. Not less effectively, less, fewer hours, with more time left over for the things that make a human life feel like one. That challenge is something most of us carry without noticing. The assumption that progress means more, that history is a line moving forward toward ease, but that's only half the story. Now here's where it gets strange. In 2014, David Reichelt at Harvard's Department of Human Evolutionary Biology led a study examining the sleep patterns of 3 non-industrialized forager groups, the Hadza of Tanzania, the San of Namibia, and the Tsimane of Bolivia, groups whose lives most closely resemble how humans lived for the vast majority of our existence. What he found disrupted something we take as basic medical fact. These groups slept an average of 6 to 7 hours per night, less than most sleep guidelines recommend, but they had almost no insomnia, no reported sleep disorders. Their sleep was deep, efficient, and tied entirely to temperature and light, which means the sleep problems spreading through modern populations, the inability to fall asleep, to stay asleep, to feel rested, those are not natural. They are recent. They arrived with electric light and indoor temperature control, and screens that keep your nervous system believing it is still midday at 2 in the morning. Your body was not built for this. It is still running older software in a world that replaced the hardware. And here's the part nobody talks about. The pre-civilizational human was not just physically different in routine. The relationship to identity, to self, was built differently. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar at the University of Oxford spent decades studying group sizes across primate species and early human communities. What he found is now called Dunbar's number. The cognitive limit of stable social relationships a human brain can hold is roughly 150 people. That was the size of the world your ancestors lived in. Everyone they would ever know. Every story, every conflict, every love, every loss, contained within a group small enough to fit in a single building. Your brain still carries that architecture. It was shaped for a world of 150 people. You are now living in a world of 8 billion, filtering 1,000 strangers a day through a nervous system built for a village. The anxiety that comes from that gap is not weakness. It is a structural mismatch, and it has been building for 10,000 years. And so the question becomes not what we lost when civilization arrived, but whether we ever understood what we were trading. Every system we built, the city, the calendar, the crop, solved a real problem. More food, more safety, more people alive, that is not nothing. But those systems also quietly assumed that what came before was simply worse, simpler, less. The evidence does not fully support that assumption, and if it doesn't, then what we call progress might be more accurately called a transaction. One kind of human life exchanged for another, neither complete, neither the whole story. You woke up this morning inside a system? You didn't choose it. Neither did your ancestors when they first began to build it. They were solving the problems they could see. Hunger, cold, drought. They could not see what the solution would cost. Measured in sleep and silence and the size of the world, a human brain was built to hold. Solins named it. Reichelt measured it. Dunbar mapped the architecture still running inside you. The container shaped you. It has always shaped you. The only question is whether you know the shape.